Welcome back to Dirty 20, everybody. Today we continue with our series on homebrewing with our main man, Erik. How you doing, Erik?
That's me. Hello, welcome back to the cellar again. I'm good. How are you doing, Ed?
Good, very good. And today, well, you wanted to start off by talking a little bit about why homebrewing might be getting a bad rap. So, why do you think that is?
Um, it is an interesting because this is really common. You hear stay away from certain websites on the when you Google D&D for something
Yeah.
cool, etc. Often because it's homebrew, don't use it. It's bad.
Mm.
Um, and that comes from the idea of the imbalance, the fact that the rules are balanced, and hence if you break it, it means you're going to be more powerful or similar compared to the other players. And I think that's a big shame because I don't think role-playing games, and in a way, especially not 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, it doesn't try to be balanced. It
Right.
it already imbalanced because a level 2 druid, when they've gotten their wild shape, is going to trump most characters until they get level 3 and get their subclass, for example.
Well, I think this is a good point because and again we've talked about this on the channel. You and I have talked a lot about this, but fifth edition is a reaction to fourth edition, which tried to codify things and put things into kind of very neat kind of categories and boxes, right? And I think that in fact, when you start talking about wanting to really look into how to change things and improve things, I said, definitely check out 4th edition. And everyone talks about it, Matt Colville's crazy for it. But certainly 5th edition, I think, doesn't pretend to be a perfect system. And I really appreciate it about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a system that that sort of emphasizing on making sure your game keeps moving and feels like historical D&D, like AD&D 3.5, like it's making sure it's keeping a lot of those terminology the same.
Yes, very good point. Yeah, they've definitely tried to keep, the hardcore old school fans content to a certain degree, but I think they've also freed themselves to say, I think they really have embraced homebrewing,
No,
and
indeed, I think so. And this is where I wanted to say that I think that more DMs and more players, I think, needs to be open to just try something if it looks fun and cool to you, and have that conversation with your DM. Hey, I think this could work. I would really like to be, say, a fairy or a bugbear or whatever. Have the dialogue. Will it fit? Is it going to work? And the most important part is do a session. If you are overpowered, like if you feel like all the other players are being trumped, be open. After the session, go, okay, that isn't working. Let's reduce the power of your character, or let's
yes,
increase it. Let's
yeah,
sort it out. It isn't like set in stone. That's what's so beautiful about these games, is that if something isn't working, change it. And having a combat where you destroyed everything is going to be a cool moment, and then afterwards just
you
reflect on it and
rebalance.
go, okay, we're going to have to change something.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, completely agreed. Okay, so with that in mind, what do you think are kind of some of the classic home brews that people tend to gravitate towards, or maybe ones that you feel have been refined quite well, amongst the fandom?
So that there are certain themes that obviously come up a lot,
Mm.
and just starting with the idea of subclasses, like everyone loves subclasses.
Yes, new
um
subclasses. Matt Mercer
yeah,
did his Blood Hunter, I think it
yeah.
was, which is quite a popular one. But yeah, that's the thing that
He's
you're going to
also
find a
done
lot of.
a fighter subclass with the sort of Echo Knight, I think it's called,
Hmm.
and
Gravity
it's
Wizards, I
just
think. Yeah.
indeed. And when it comes to Unearth Arcana, which
Mm.
in a really odd way is borderline homebrew
Right, I
until
was
it
going to
gets
ask, would
officially
you?
published.
Yeah, like a lot of people say, you know, a lot of DMs, again, the ones that kind of rag on homebrew, go to their players, no homebrew, no UA, no unearthed arcana, right? So it does kind of fall in that kind of category, and it's playtest material, right? And that's kind of what homebrew is. It's a way to, it's play testing things and refining them and improving them. And I think what you said is really, really important for the DMs out there who are, you know, worried that it might not work out. That is a very clear possibility. You know, it might not work out, but you're always able to have the discussion and find a way to work with your players. I was really surprised. Sorry, go on.
Yep. I mean, honestly, if there's one takeaway from these episodes that I'd like people to take on board, is the fact that homebrew, it's done because it's fun, either as an exercise or because it makes your game more fun. If you sit down and there's something in the rules that you feel doesn't work, oh, this spell means that things doesn't work, don't be afraid to just sit down with your players or with your DM afterwards and go, hey, I don't think this is working. What do you feel? Maybe just remove it. You don't have to explain it in game because you're there to have a good time.
Right.
And if it doesn't aid that, if it slows that down, change it.
Get rid of it. Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to do it. That's the main point. Just do it. And if it doesn't work, okay, you have learned something, you know.
So, you know, subclasses, there's a lot of that in the homebrew world. Magic items as well. I feel like that's a very common initial step for a DM. Have you done a lot of that?
Magic items, absolutely. Like, for the most part, especially early in the game, I make so many magic items. I always have, because I always looked at the list and always felt like, oh, this feels a little strong or a little boring. I really dislike +1 weapons because to me, they don't do anything. They just change the statistics. We're talking a 5% chance to hit. To me, that isn't very fun. I want my magic items to unlock something that you couldn't do before. For example, in a recent game, one of the players found his first sword, magic sword. I think you were level 4 maybe. It was a +1 sword, which was nice. But it then also had the reaction that when you take damage, he could sort of slit the air, step through, and appear within 30 feet.
So that kind of a teleport kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And that tied into the story. He was walking through the Shadowfell as he did that. To me, that's so much more fun. And that's a homebrew item as far as I'm aware. So yeah, lots of magic items. And then, of course, if you go to DM's Guild or similar, gritty realism is a really, really big one. People who want to overhaul all the weapons, all the armors, make them historically accurate and so on and so forth. I like it. Let's put it that way. You know, like I'm not criticizing anything, but it's a really big market. People love that. It's been homebrewed so many times. You can find 100 versions. In fact, the first homebrew I ever got in that first ever game that you invited me to was that your friend that you had met up with, he gave us this little pamphlet almost, which was depending on which weapon you have equipped of, you know, if it's a dagger or a longsword, if you look in this pamphlet, it will give you an extra bonus of some sort.
Okay.
Because he wanted the weapons to feel more unique than just a different damage type or similar.
Okay, so like all longswords are the same. Yeah, I get that. Like, I mean, with regards to magic items, I tend to think that is a natural evolution of storytelling. You're going to want something which is very specific, like a MacGuffin or something that can kind of propel your story or motivate your players to do things. But do you have any advice for people wanting to kind of make magic items and how to, you know, because you can come up with the fluff, but how do you kind of come up with the crunch? What's your process like?
Yeah, So starting with the really simple one. So let's do magic items, because I do think that's one of the simplest way to sort of start, because classes and subclasses, leave that to the side, because that's where it can get really tricky. But if we look at the magic item, to start, I like to look at what spells or cantrips does your party have access to at the level they're currently at.
Okay.
Because you can then add that to an item, something they don't have access to. If they don't have a wizard, a glove that gives you access to mage hand, it's gonna be a really easy way to step in and just be like, okay, here you go. It's technically something that's already in the book. You're just giving it to someone who wouldn't normally get it. Similar, you could then do when you look at spells, say they're level 3. So you look at, what spells do they have access to? Okay, level 1 spells. Let's look at that. Let's make an item that gives them a spell they could really use. Like say, identify. Here you go. Here's a magnifying glass. This allows you to cast Identify once per long rest, for example, and maybe it gives, let's say, advantage on investigation rolls, but only if you're very close.
Right.
Now it's thematic. It fills in something the party doesn't have, so they will appreciate it, but it's going to be balanced because it's using a spell that if they happen to have a wizard, they would already have it.
Right, exactly. So you're kind of like helping the party out, but you're also not stretching the rules, or an item that does something like that is not going to break the game. There's no risk whatsoever. So it's a great idea to use that. I think also as you get more experience in using like more advanced NPCs and stuff like that, you kind of get to see some of the items that they have. The DMG does have a big list of magical items, but yeah, I think homebrewing your own stuff and making it fit in with your narrative or the needs of your party, like you've said, I think that it just makes them more fun, like you said.
Yeah. And also it's also, as you said, like you want to make it fit with your world, because sometimes finding a wand of magic missile that has that name and looks the way it's described, which is then rules as written, and they find that in a chest because that's what the adventure said. Maybe your table likes a very light tone. So maybe it would be much better to give them a bag of tricks that makes, a badger randomly appear as a fussy object.
That's one of the magic items that I gave you guys.
And similarly, if you like a sort of more realistic tone, then wand of magic missiles doesn't quite sound right, and maybe the idea of shooting magic missiles doesn't feel quite right either. So you may want to start homebrewing simply by changing the names and things, just to make it fit your world. To make more sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think fluff and flavor is something that you should always be kind of adjusting and changing so that it fits your narrative, so that it fits your PCs and things like that. So okay, good. But we are going to, in the coming episodes, start talking about things like low magic versus high magic. What else are we going to be talking about, Erik?
Firearms and grittiness,
deadliness, which you talked about a little bit today. But we're going to expand on those things. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let us know, what kind of magical items have you homebrewed in the past. I'm always up for like adding more to my list. So, definitely hit us up with that. And as always, Erik,
keep slaying.
If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter. @MouthLaVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am Enano LVP, and our producer is Jazzy J Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.